on?
What's that noise?
What's that noise?
Let's go.
Okay.
Your job running for president is for the American people to meet you, and I'm sure you've had to introduce yourself many, many times. What's the quickest version of who is Andrew Yang?
If you've heard anything about me and my campaign, you've heard that someone is running for president who wants to give every American $1,000 a month. 7 years ago, I started Venture for America.
So if you could, please just kind of turn in your groups, and especially if you don't know someone, maybe get to know them a little better. And we'd just like you to talk for a minute about why you support Andrew Yang. And then when time's up, I'll say Yang and you say Gang. Can we try it real quick? Yang? Yang! Good job.
Justine. Nice to meet you. This is actually my first name.
Yeah.
All right. Who here is new to volunteering, or this is your first time ever donating to a political candidate? Right? Yeah, me too. This is why this campaign is so special, and this is why it's so unique, and this is why it's different. And we need your help because we need so many more people just like yourself that we need to bring into this campaign to win. And we have to do this together. Who here feels like they have something very personal at stake in this election? Is there a couple people who want to share?
I spent a day driving rideshare just to donate to Andrew's campaign. I've met him a few times too. I don't want to let him down.
Mark?
So my personal tie to this campaign is I want to live in a country that I feel comfortable raising a family in. And yeah.
Personal reason I'm doing all this for this campaign is because of my mom. I watched her struggle pretty much my whole life, raising me in the middle of by herself. And I think that extra $1,000 a month will really help her just kind of, get by without having like a paycheck to paycheck. It's more about family than anything else, really. Not so much myself. So I can do just fine. But my mom was really struggling, so I want to help her. I want to make sure that she can survive and be happy.
I wanted to for other people. Anyone else? One more, maybe?
Hi, I live in Independence, and I thought about running for city council of the city for 2 years, and I haven't wanted to do it. But then when I found out about Andrew Yang in July, I was like, okay, I have to do this now, because if the federal government doesn't have cooperation on the local level, nothing will get done still. And I mean, you just look at sanctuary cities, they can make all the federal laws they want, and cities can still rebel. So we have to have cooperation at the local level to help implement Andrew Yang's vision into the streets of our city and our neighborhoods, and vice versa. We want to get things done, we need the same sort of aligned vision of a human-based capitalism and economy and well-being coming from us, going to the top, and from the top going to us.
Thank you so much. And we're going to talk about our strategy to win next. We'll now turn it over to talk about how we win.
Quick show of hands. Who thinks we can win? Hell yes. But we've all talked to doubters, and they don't think we can pull this off. There's a variety of excuses here. Some people think he's polling too low. Some people think that the establishment will not let an outsider win. Some people think the media won't cover it. Show of hands again. Who's heard any of this stuff, whether face-to-face or online? So, that's not surprising, and it's not legit, and this is why. We're going to go over 2 quick objections. These objections are basically things that we commonly hear when we're out there talking to people, and there are things that we can respond with that may help them see that they are maybe not totally correct. First objection is polls. So, you walk up to somebody and they say he's polling too low, doesn't have enough support. So here's an interesting question. Raise your hands. Who's been polled? Me neither. Right. We got a fair bit. I don't know what the occupancy is in this room, but we have a fair number of people, none of which have been polled. So, not many. Truth is, while other campaigns are slowing down, we are still opening offices. I've seen this personally myself. We just finished a bus tour in Iowa for that matter. And some folks, they're not even able to afford to open more offices if they want. But we've had a plan from the very beginning, and that plan is to peak at the exact right moment. And we're about to come up on it. Also, half of the Democratic voters that we talk to, they don't know who they're voting for. This election is not sewn up by any means. And in a recent poll, undecided voters preferred Andrew Yang over any other candidate. It's a net positive of 21%. Those are the voters that we have to go after. Next objection. UBI is a gimmick. Of that is regressive. That's really what it says. No one has ever said UBI is a gimmick to me in person. But we all get it. People are like, he wants to give $1,000 to everyone, right? Well, here's the deal. The freedom dividend isn't a handout. It's the first step in creating a trickle-up economy. This is what you tell people to get some sense to it. Andrew isn't suggesting that we give anything to anyone that doesn't already belong to them. We're talking about data as your property, and you should own it as a property right. By the way, anyone out there get their data check from Amazon or Facebook or Google?
I did not.
Thank you.
Fat no.
So, some high-profile politicians have called the value-added tax regressive. So let's talk about that for a second. So when we call it regressive, what we're meaning is that it impacts people with low incomes more than people with high incomes. And it's not untrue. Since a VAT is based on consumption, and because people with lower incomes have less money to spend, it's a larger portion of their income that goes to the VAT as those with higher incomes. But what they don't consider is the freedom dividend. When you take into account the 12 grand a year that everyone will receive, you would have to spend more than 120 grand on taxable goods every year to be paying into the system more than you're receiving. Another raise of hands, who has spent 120 grand last year on taxable goods?
I wish.
Okay, I'm coming to you guys. I'm gonna ask you guys for some money.
I don't have that much money.
Okay, on to why we will win. These are some of the naysayers' arguments, and here's why we believe that we will win. First, our candidate is different from any candidate who was from before. What makes him different? Guys, go ahead and shout out some answers. What do you think makes Andrew Yang a different candidate for you?
As far as it seems.
He is taller than he seems.
He's smart.
Human.
All those things.
Speaks facts and solutions.
Forward thinking.
You guys, yes, all of those things, right? Those are all great answers. We've all done the math, and here's what the data shows. Andrew Yang has the broadest support from Democrats and Republicans progressives and conservatives, independents and libertarians, former Trump voters, and the politically disengaged, which I personally think is a huge. Those polls do not reflect this. The more people learn about Andrew Yang and his message, the more they like him, which is why he has the highest loyalty rating from any candidate in the field. So our strategy is simple. We introduced everyone to the Humanity First campaign, regardless of who they voted for or whether they voted at all in 2012, 2016, or 2018. Show of hands, how many of you, for the first time you heard Andrew Yang, you didn't buy in? Did it take you a minute to get on board? Yeah, you're not alone. Same here, actually. Partially. I was pretty much on board. UBI took a little bit of convincing on my part, I have to say. Because I was kind of selfish, I guess, and thought about it, at a very personal level, like from my own point of view. Anyway, our strategy is simple. We're going to introduce everyone to Humanity First. Our platform is one that doesn't fit into a quick 30-second soundbite or into a tweet. It defies what we've been taught to believe. It's something that folks have to sit with, to poke at, to question. People have to go through the 7 stages of Yang, which if you guys aren't familiar, starts with denial, then you go to confusion, curiosity, research, enlightenment, excitement, and then they become full-on Yang.
You have no problems with that.
I think I do. I will say, Peter, and there's there are YangGang members in Kansas City YangGang that started out as completely disengaged, never been involved in politics before, and then Peter's moving to Iowa on Sunday.
Are you going to be 1,000 votes?
What's that?
Are you going to be 1,000 California votes?
I will be moving there. I will not be a resident. Unfortunately not, but I'm going to get many, many Californians.
So we're going to talk to everyone about Andrew, and we're going to talk to them again and again and again, because we know that the more that people learn about this campaign, the more they fall in love with it. Next, we will win because our candidate is the only candidate who understands that we are living through the 4th Industrial Revolution. In fact, he's the only candidate that even talks about the 4th Industrial Revolution. We know the data. 1 out of every 3 American jobs will be obsolete by 2030 due to new technologies. Uber is actively working on self-driving trucks, and being a truck driver is the top profession in how many states?
29.
You guys are good. And what automation has done to the manufacturing jobs over the past decade, it will also do to millions of blue and white-collar jobs across the country. We believe that we will win because we are in the thick of the 4th Industrial Revolution, and Andrew Yang has modern policies to lead us through it. Finally, we will win because we are running the most efficient, scrappy, being the operative word, also innovative campaign of any campaign in 2020. We're going to the places that other campaigns won't, activating people that other campaigns aren't, and we aren't doing it in ways that any other campaign has thought of.
So let's talk about what makes our campaign different. First, we're different because we are Humanity First. We believe that it is more than just a campaign slogan. This is the way we are going to be. We are Humanity First in the way we talk to voters. We say good things about our candidate. We don't engage in negative rhetoric or bad talk on other candidates. We just say good things about Andrew Yang and why we believe he should be our president. We're also Humanity First in the way we treat one another. We're one of the most diverse groups of supporters in the political field today. And our commitment to honor those differences by following the guiding principles of this campaign, empathy, grace, and compassion, will continue to set us apart and move us forward. And we're also different because we make America think harder. We know that the more people learn about this campaign, the more invested they become. I'll flip my page now. Income is spent. You can feel free to razz me if you want. So we're going to introduce our candidate to every voter that we encounter. Your server in a restaurant, your Uber driver, the clerk at the gas station, your friends and your family around the dinner table. In every interaction with a voter, we're going to leave them with a bit more information in a a positive interaction with somebody who loves Andrew Yang and believes he should be president. We know we're not going to secure the vote in every single conversation, but in every single conversation, we will plant the seed of thought. So the next time that they see Andrew on the debate stage or on the newsstand or on social media, they will think just a little bit harder. And finally, we are different because of you, the YangGang. Andrew Yang himself retweeted, "The YangGang is the most potent force in all of American politics today." The YangGang has been crushing our fundraising goals again and again and again. In the third quarter of 2019, we raised $10 million, more than tripling the quarter prior to that. A few weeks ago, at the end of last month, we raised $2 million in a week, including $750,000 in one single day. And not just that, a couple weeks ago, we did it again. We raised $2 million in a week again, including $500,000 in a single day. And then, we had the debate last Thursday. We raised over $500,000 in the 24 hours post-debate. The YangGang is growing, and we are going to continue to grow. We do not have our official numbers yet, but we are definitely on pace to absolutely smash the last quarter of $10 million. And so I watched this play out. I saw it on Reddit, I saw it on Twitter, I saw it on Facebook, everywhere. I watched as the YangGang dug deep. They gave what they could, and they challenged others to give more, encouraged friends and family and neighbors to contribute as well. I even saw supporters of other candidates getting in on the fun just because there was that much energy in our campaign. Think about it. We are getting supporters from other candidates to give us money because that is how excited we are, that we are making them excited.
Passion wins it all.
It doesn't happen. So the YangGang is truly the greatest force in American politics today, and when we win, it will be because of the YangGang. So let's think about how we can initiate these conversations. Every member of the YangGang should have an elevator pitch. It's a quick 20 to 30 second clip in an introduction of who Andrew Yang is and why you support him. The goal here is not necessarily to persuade every person you talk to, it's just to give them an idea of why they should look more into him. So when you get down the road, like we said before, they're going to start seeing him more and more and more, and your conversation is going to play a huge part in them eventually choosing to vote for Andrew Yang. So, staying flexible here is key. You want to make sure that you are thinking about your surroundings. Think about who you are talking to, because it'll probably dictate what you say to that person. You might also find yourself with a small library of pitches after a while. If possible, it's really helpful to have some type of material with you. Business cards are a great idea, just something quick. Give them something that gives them a little more information, maybe direct them to the website. Anything like that is super helpful. So here in just a second, we're all going to break out. We're going to make our own elevator pitches if you don't have one already. But first, we are all going to share our elevator pitches. So I'll go ahead and go first just because I have the microphone right now. So my name is John, and when I'm talking to someone about Andrew Yang, I think it's the most powerful to think about why I support Andrew Yang and to share that with them. And I've got one that works pretty universally. So this is kind of a broad one that works in most situations. And what I usually tell them is I say, I'm originally from a town of about 350 people in central Nebraska. And if you think about that type of population, you can imagine what they think about politicians in general, right? A pretty good idea. And the reason for that is because they respect people that do things. They respect real leaders. And Andrew Yang is a real leader. In 2007, he saw the effects of the financial crisis. He dropped what he was doing, and he started a brand new company strictly to help out people in cities that needed help. That is the type of person Andrew Yang is. That is the type of leader Andrew Yang is. And that is why we need him in the White House, because we need a leader in the White House right now.
Hi again, I'm Rachel. I'm not only a 39-year-old woman that works in retail, but I'm also a mom. I'm also very solutions-oriented. So I've thought for a very long time that America's greatest resource is its people. And I've also thought for a very long time that we are not doing a good job of taking care of our people. So when I heard about Andrew Yang and Humanity First, it really spoke to me, and I dug into his numerous policies, and I saw multifaceted policies that work holistically together to uplift Americans and just help out in their everyday lives so we can, fulfill our potential. basically. Another thing I will say is that I grew up in a small town in central Illinois that as I've grown to adulthood, I've seen actively dying. I mean, I'm one of the people that left. So to consider what UBI can do for a small town like that, the possibilities that it has to revitalize those rural communities is very inspiring to me.
I support Andrew Yang because at some point, America started believing that not caring about people is good in leadership. I don't get it. To not care about people, to not prioritize people, somehow this is an attribute of a good leader. I don't understand that at all. Andrew Yang, since the first time I shook his hand and proceeded to put my foot in my mouth, was incredibly human. From his policies, particularly human-centered capitalism, or the idea of humanity first, to the fact that he is running for president because he cares about his kids and his kids' future. I am supporting Andrew Yang because I don't know that we have a future without him.
So I have so many different, probably 30-second spiels I could give, and kind of a lot what they were saying. It depends on the circumstance and who you're speaking to in terms of if you want to kind of tailor it a little bit. So, but I'll give you kind of just the most basic one to kind of anyone in general. But if you all have any questions, especially if you're going to Iowa, I would please catch me after if you want to talk about that. I'd be happy to. Okay, so here we go. I have never volunteered for a political person before in my life, and I truly believe Andrew Yang is the candidate of a lifetime. He is incredibly brilliant and compassionate and so trustworthy, which is sadly incredibly rare these days to find someone who you feel is so trustworthy. And I really, really, really appreciate how Andrew Yang's policies are so innovative, yet incredibly practical. And they rely on so much data and research. And as someone who is I would consider myself a data girl, I really, really appreciate that. And his policies are so substantial and just really show the humanity first message. And it's something that I really believe in.
So now we're going to break out. We're going to go ahead and make our own elevator pitches. So we'll take here about 2-3 minutes, partner up with some people, maybe make a small group of 3, something like that. Once again, as soon as we're ready to come back, we'll say yay. You say yay. 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 You got it. Disperse. Or turn slightly.
Mine's discussing ideas.
From somebody who can understand what he's actually putting out there as a solution. And I think him as the candidate with the solutions for today.
That's fantastic. Anybody else have a partner who have a really good elevator pitch that you could share?
He did.
You have one? All right, here we go. What do you say?
Yeah, exactly. I can tell you that I carry business cards with me at all times. I'll stand up. And the quickest thing I ask people, and it flows into any conversation, is have you heard of Andrew Yang? And you'll either get back, hey, is he that guy running for president? Or, no, who is he? Business card. He's running for president. I think you'll like him. Check it out. It's that simple. Like, just to get something in their hand. I've never had somebody not turn it away, and I've never had somebody not say, thank you for giving me that. Everybody appreciates it. So it can be that short and simple. You don't have to even get into anything else. I do tend to, like somebody who's working in a low-paying job, ask them, so what would an extra $1,000 a month do for you?
Everything.
See, everything. Have you heard of Andrew Yang? Like, just perceive it. That's how I do it. But carry cards with you all the time. 100%.
100%.
Thank you. Fantastic. So I heard a few things that my takeaways when I was listening were, number one, make a personal connection if you can. If you can give a personal story that shows your connection to the candidate, that is powerful. Having some type of literature to give them, whether it's a business card or anything else, can also be really helpful. And then also be thinking of who you're talking to. What is a message that they're going to be the most receptive to? Think about those things and use them to create your own elevator pitches. You should have like a couple of them for those different situations, or depending on what you're doing. So, excellent job. So next we're going to talk a little bit about the campaign and what we're up to and where we're at right now. So we just finished up with the December debates like we talked about earlier. We already have one of the 4 polls that we need to get to the January debate. So we're a quarter of the way there, or maybe even less, because if we get, I believe it's 7% in 2 of the early states, so Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, South Carolina. If we get 7% in 2 of those states, 2 of which we are spending millions of dollars on ads in, then we're in. So we are looking really, really good there. And if you were listening to the post-debate CNN panel after the debates last Thursday, you heard a stage 5 YangGang in progress, is what you heard. Because that conversation is changing. The way the media talks about Andrew Yang is changing. It's not all of a sudden them pushing Andrew Yang the way they do with some candidates, but you can tell that their mindset is starting to soften a little bit. They're starting to realize that we are getting enough people, and if we all come together, we can build a 21st century economy that works for us. We can do this. We can win. We also scored a huge endorsement from Childish Gambino. Woo! I'm so excited about that. Most exciting thing about that is now I get to tell people that I technically work with Childish Gambino. And it's pretty fun, I gotta tell you. And we currently have 29 field offices open in the early states. We've continued to grow our fundraising, and while we've been doing that, we can be kind of honest, we're still well behind many of the other candidates. They've been spending years building donor bases, getting donations. Some of them have got previous presidential runs under their belt. They already have infrastructures built. But what they do not have is the YangGang. And that is where you all come in. That is why we're going to win, is because of the YangGang. So what we're going to be asking is for you to help get the other 46 states, while the staff in February is really focusing on those first 4, helping us get these other 46 states ready to go, and then also helping us in those first 4. And we know that it's a lot to ask of you, but there is no way we win this without the YangGang. There's just not. And to talk more about that is Peter. How will we win, Peter?
Let me tell you all about it. Okay, so how will we win? Door-to-door canvassing. So the YangGang is not just a bunch of keyboard warriors. We're going to move stuff from URL to IRL. It says that in the script, I had to say that. So, okay, here's the thing. We have data on what is effective. So it's called voter contact, right? Well, all of this stuff started with voter identification. We wanted to know what we wanted to know. Like, what do you want to know? What do you like about Andrew Yang? Have you heard of him? Is he in your top 3? Is he in your top 5? So we collected information, and we continuously look at it. And what the data says is that face-to-face, on-the-doorstep contact is what the voters want. That is how you reach out and find the YangGang, and it's working. Tell me though, in terms of talking to strangers on doorsteps, who here feels nervous about doing this? You know what? I do too. I mean, at some point you're a lot more tired than nervous. Sometimes you're more hungry than nervous. But for the most part, nervous is okay, and nervous is good. And you know what? It gets so much easier. You can be nervous and do a lot of things, right? So what we're going to do is set you up with tools that make door-to-door YangGang as easy and low stress as possible. We'll give you a list of people who we believe are going to support Andrew Yang. We're not asking you to go and knock on the devil's door and ask him to throw in with Andrew Yang. We're going to make every aspect of this as simple and straightforward as possible, and every single person here can do it, because all you're doing is using your passion and telling people about Andrew Yang. It's probably what you're doing already. Just the fact that you don't know them already. You know what? A lot of people are very grateful to hear about it. And I gotta tell you, especially in Iowa, they know the score and they wanna know. They wanna know what you have to say. I went off script a little bit there. So We've already begun rolling these tools out to other states. Volunteers in Colorado, for example, found that only 60% of the voters they talked to had heard of Yang, and only 20% had chosen a candidate already. But every single person who they talked to on their doorstep committed to learning more about Andrew Yang, because we were the only ones that showed up and knocked on their door. Going to door is hard work, and it's understandably uncomfortable. But think of it this way, what's more uncomfortable? Talking to a stranger about Andrew Yang, which you're probably going to do anyway, spontaneously, or waiting another 4 or 8 years to see him in the White House. That wasn't rhetorical.
I
It sounded rhetorical.
Oh, well. Thanks, Scott. No, actually that was rhetorical in the script. Yeah. Anyways, so next I want to talk about Pledge for Humanity. Earlier this month, the YangGang's pledged almost 10,000 hours doing humanity first projects in the community. Yeah. Humanity first people. We're not just volunteering for the campaign. This is a movement. It's a movement and it will exist beyond this election. Keep that in mind, let that sink in a little bit. What we're doing right now is representing a thing that is even greater than the presidency. So, keep an eye out for dates for our next Pledge for Humanity event. And, I'll just throw this out there, if you have an idea, well, there's this thing where if you showed up here today, you are at very least interested, but more likely are a leader of some kind. Whether you feel that way about yourself or not, you should just kind of accept that. And if you have an event and you want to do a humanity, or Pledge for Humanity, then please, by all means, we're going to make sure that you have all the assistance you could possibly get to do it. But please, take the lead. Okay, finally, I'd like to talk about Iowa.
Yay.
Okay. I love the active listening. That's so awesome.
I'm very supportive.
I've noticed. Also, just a quick shout out, she's got a van that can take 7 people, and she's going to Iowa in January. And I also want to point out Nick Riley. Yeah, thanks, Nick. And Zach, they're going to be involved in Iowa. I am as well. You will have people to lean on while you're up there. 3 weeks leading up to the Iowa caucus is the most crucial time in the race. That is when we need a massive surge of YangGang. If you're able to travel or volunteer, make plans to come to Iowa between January 13th and the caucus on February 3rd. There's a QR code on the handouts that will link you to the campaign's forms. You fill out that information, and someone with the campaign will be in touch to work out the details. Right now, staff are working to find YangGang in the state of Iowa willing to house you. Okay. So I'm gonna vamp a little bit. The work that you can do in Iowa right now is winning the campaign. Like, I am beyond a doubt convinced of this. I'm moving tomorrow to go do this full time and to attempt to be a precinct captain for Andrew Yang.
Thank you.
Everyone can come and do this in one capacity or another. It doesn't have to be as big as moving to Iowa and knocking on doors. You can phone bank, you can text bank, you can show your support in so many ways. But I tell you this, if you want to make an impact, get to Iowa, knock on doors, meet these people and tell them about Andrew Yang. We're starting a wave, and it's just starting, but it's going to crest at the exact right time for this campaign. But it's starting now. Get your things in order, figure out when you can be there, what you need to do what you can to help, and when you need to be back home. And all of this information, once you have it, we're gonna network it out, and we're gonna get you connected with what you need to do. So please, Kansas City, we are a border state. We are one of the greatest resources that Iowa has outside of Iowans themselves. Please, figure it out, be in touch. Get on the Slack, let's get organized. We'll get you rides if needed. Like, there are plenty of ways for carpool, to crash together. We're gonna go do this, and it's gonna be great. And, you know, you might miss out on it, so seriously, come and check it out.
It's history in the making.
So real quick, I just want to do kind of an awkward just thing. So there is another event that is in the beginning of January. I believe it's the first week of January. That is not a campaign affiliated thing. We are the 3 weeks prior to the caucus, because that is the most impactful time you can be in Iowa, is right before that caucus, making sure people know about Andrew Yang. We're talking to those people, but we're also talking to people that support Andrew Yang and making sure that they are prepared and ready to go caucus. So there's going to be a lot of different things that we're doing at that time, and later in the month is absolutely when we want you there. So there is a number of volunteer resources that we have that can help us out. So we're going to break this into kind of a different section. Raise your hand if you're on the Yang 2020 Volunteer Slack. Okay, so about half of us it looks like, so that's good. If you're one of those people that's on the Slack, can you raise your hand if you got on there maybe a couple times, were confused, didn't know what you were doing, and maybe didn't log on again? That's totally fine. That is feedback that we have been hearing, and I totally get it. I was the same way when I got into Slack. I was like, what the heck is this? And I kind of luckily figured it out as I went, but it's kind of difficult. So we're going to take just a minute here to kind of talk about Slack, to talk about the things you can do there. So the thing about the Slack is it is our volunteer hub of activities. It's where you can get involved with the campaign. You can talk to staff members like me and the rest of my team. You can talk to awesome volunteer leaders like everybody here. You can talk to each other because you're also going to be around as well. There's one that is for the campaign, the national campaign. You also got a handout for one that is specifically for Kansas, Missouri, and it's got a few other states in there as well. So there's regional ones and there's national ones. I'm just going to show you the national one. Okay, so every single email that's sent to the campaign, it is read by a human, and then replied is coming from a human. Every text message that is sent out by a human and is replied to by a human. We make phone calls into Iowa and to other early states, all done by humans. This all comes from this volunteer Slack. And so this is the main hub for volunteering. So if you're not on here and you're hoping to volunteer, you're definitely going to want to be in there. So I'm going to pull this over, and I apologize, the resolution on this is not great, so it's ginormo. All right, so this is the volunteer Slack. It's going to be a little smaller on your screen. What you're going to see when you first get in is you're going to have this bar on the side. Now yours is luckily not going to be nearly as big as mine because I've been on here for a while. I'm in a lot of channels. I got a lot of stuff going on. But you'll notice on this left side, you'll have a thing that says channels. And you'll also get a video as soon as you log in for the first time. It should now send you a quick tutorial that'll cover a little bit of this stuff, but also some different things as well. So you'll have your channels on the side. These are each individual workspaces where you can do certain things, or they might be certain help guides. So right now you can see highlighted is Slack resources. This is a page strictly dedicated to things that are going to help you out on Slack. So right here, you can see that this is a post about channels. So I posted this a while ago, what each channel is used for. So we have help, Slack resources, which is where we are. You can post animal memes. We've got some kind of fun channels in there to kind of help kind of just hang out with the YangGang as well, because we do want to build community as well as get to work, right? So let's say I really want a phone bank. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to find caller start here. So it's there. It's also on this left bar, so you can go to it either place. You notice some of them are white. That just means that there's been a post in there since I last checked that channel. So it just means there's stuff I have not read there. So that's kind of what that means. So I'm going to click caller start here, and now I'm in that channel. Once again, the screen is huge for some reason, just from the projector, so it's going to look a little bit more manageable on your end when you actually get on it. But you can come in here and kind of ask a question. So at the bottom, it has like the chat. So let's say, okay, how do I get started? I could ask that question there. You can also look at the top of the channel. Most of them will have some type of resource up at the very top in the channel topic. So for example, on this particular one, there's a handbook. If you click that, it'll bring it up in your browser and show you how to use it. I think that Rachel and Peter are gonna kind of cover that in a second. And then you can also, after you get past your channels, again, you will not be in this many channels. I'm kind of just in all of them. But then you can start getting into your messages. So if someone sends you something, so this person, Ian Ratner, he's the YGRO, he's the YangGang regional organizer for Tennessee. So it's got a red 1 next to it. That means that he sent me a message. I actually know what it is. I marked it as unread because I didn't have time to talk to him at that point. But so there's a lot of little tricks and things you can do to help it. But this is kind of the big thing. So the left bar is kind of like showing you what's going on and where everything is. And then once you click into those channels, it'll tell you where you are up here at the top. And you'll be able to ask more specific questions. So if I have a question about phone banking, I would ask that in Caller Start here. If I have a question about texting and I want to get involved in there, we have a numbering system as well, so if it's a 1, that means it's a kind of a basic channel. If it's a 2 or 3 or 4, that means it's one that's a little bit more advanced, so you won't get those until later. So it'll kind of keep it a little cleaner for you. So I come up here to help, cool. This is where I can ask just any general Yang question, and hopefully someone will be there to help you out. So, and we also need the YangGang to help out in the help page, to help answer questions, do anything like that. So I want to text bank, so I'm going to come down to text to start here, unless I muted that one. Oh, man. Sorry, so mine is different because I have a bunch of channels muted because they're very, very noisy. Text to start here, yes. So I muted it because lots and lots of people message in there and I don't deal with that as much. So I click in here and this is now where I can get my resources. New to text bank, yep, that's me, cool. I can click on that. It's going to bring up my URL, and now I have my guide. Here's how you text me. So most of that is pretty simple. It can be confusing, but the basic idea of it's pretty simple. I can take a couple questions if anyone has any, especially if you're someone that's been on it before, got confused, and kind of gave up, because that definitely happens at a high rate.
I just had problems getting connected to certain channels.
Okay, yeah, so in order to get into certain channels, so most of these basic ones you should have right off the bat. So I've set it up so when you first log into Slack for the very first time, you will have help, you will have Slack resources, you will have callers start here, you'll have texters start here, signature gatherers start here, because in many states you need signatures to get on the ballot. Missouri is not one of them, so you don't really need to worry about it, although if you can make it into Illinois, they are still working on some signature stuff, although I think they're finishing up here very soon. So that is another resource that'll be in there. And I think that's break room, the animal memes that we put in there just for fun. So you'll have kind of those basic channels there ready to go, and they'll just be there on the bar. So like rather than mine being completely full of stuff, you'll just have like those few channels there. So it should be a little more manageable. You will also get a message from me. Well, it will come in as, it'll say like Slackbot sent you a message. If you click on that, it'll have like a tutorial that kind of goes through some of this in more in depth, a little bit. Does that help out?
Yep, awesome.
Awesome, okay. Thank you so much. So next up, the next important thing you're going to need to know is how to post an event on our website. So if you're going to post your own event, like many of you will, because you are amazing leaders, just like Peter said, if you're here tonight, or today, I guess, you are a leader, whether you think you are or not, you are taking the initiative to spend time out of your day to learn more about how you can volunteer, and that does make you a leader. So Peter and Rachel are going to show us how to post an event on the website, and then we will finish up.
Question?
Oh, yes, sir. Actually, announcement. We just got to 1.5 mil. On the way to
If you scan on this QR code, it says welcome to Slack. When you scan that, it'll take you to the volunteer website, and you just fill out your information saying you want to volunteer, and they should email you a Slack link immediately after that, and you can create your account and get going there. We'll be around for a few minutes, especially before we get the canvassing stuff figured out, or to get the canvassing instructions and training done. So if you get that done and you're stuck, or you have some more questions to ask specifically, you can bring those to us at that time, and we'll kind of help you through it, okay? But that should hopefully get you started a little bit.
Thank you.
So John, could you talk a little bit about threads? So how to tell whether you're posting a vetted thread, you're in a thread, creating a thread?
Commenting on
That's the thread.
Yeah, that and find out where to post it. So up at the top of that page, there's a document that brings it up.
Okay, this document is how to volunteer with the YangGang, and it goes through all the different things that you can do, signature gathering, which is another big thing that we do here. here, other than what John said, if you can head to a border state that is collecting signatures. Door-to-door canvassing, a community event that also includes like tabling or like a humanity, Pledge for Humanity event, that would be under a community event. And then each event says, goes to another document that says how to host this particular event. YangGang hangs are probably like the easiest, I think. So you go into that document and it gives you very like specific instructions, right? Why it's so important to get people together in real life. And then there's a document that tells you how to actually create an event. And here, there's a video on how to do a YangGang hang. We're gonna show you that in real life right now, as far as how to post on Mobilize. In these documents, you'll also find instructions on exactly, like naming conventions. How do you wanna label your YangGang hang or your post in Mobilize? There's also what we call copy pasta. So when you go in and create your event, anyway, copy pasta, there's templates for every single kind of event that you can use. You just copy and paste right out of the documents, and then obviously change the location that's specific to you. But you can take this copy directly into Mobilize to post your event. So you don't have to think about it too hard. Again, like I said, there are videos to show you how to do this, especially in how to host a YangGang hang that specifically shows someone in Mobilize setting an event up. But Peter's going to go ahead and do that live for you guys right now.
Okay, so this is also going to be like a wide notification to everybody that we're doing an online virtual YangGang hang on Wednesday night. We're going to show you the steps it takes to get the Mobilize event created, but any one of you could be doing this, especially if you just wanted to make an online event. We'll go ahead and get started. It'll be a lot clearer when we get ready. So,
you will need to create an account for Mobilize, which most of you, I assume, have already done because you registered to come to this event. So you can pretty much skip that step.
oh my God. Okay.
Okay. So,
John, I'm about to put your Slack on the big screen.
Put my Slack on the big screen?
Well, I need to retrieve the link that I just messaged.
4 fingers up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, that was. Oh my God, where? Why? There's too much communication.
Okay.
No, you, mine, our thread,
you're Peter, alphabet. Keep going.
oh.
Oh, wait, do I put it together?
Wait, no, Meredith.
We figured out that yeah, it's probably that one.
Sorry.
So this is the first time trying. We've heard a lot of feedback on like people wanting to kind of know more about these individual processes. So I apologize. It's a little working it out. You guys are guinea pigs tonight. I apologize.